firing.
What's going on, guys? It's Tuesday here, and we are the boys from Your Fifth Friend podcast. As you guys know, you're a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and we are here to be your fifth friend. What's cracking off on this Tuesday today?
Dude, I got a lot of juicy topics for us. I enjoyed a long weekend. Girlfriend is gone to New Jersey. What did I do during the weekend? Watch tons and tons and tons of podcasts.
He was in the dungeon for the entire weekend watching endless amounts of podcasts while in his bed, completely doing his
Do you guys get the
I was
notification?
almost butt naked, just like this with a laptop on me all day long. Anywho, go ahead.
Do you get the notification for like how much screen time you utilized during this weekend over here?
Oh, dude, it's disgusting. I don't have Instagram anymore because I completely deleted it. I was the ultimate doom scroller. If you look at my time, it's like 5 minutes here, 15 minutes here. YouTube, 3-4 hours a day.
Jesus.
Every single day. It's disgusting.
What is your number one pick when it comes to YouTube? What is the must watch?
Dude, it's eclectic.
If there's one. Or give us the 2 genres.
This is going to sound super...
Guns, wiener dog videos.
No wiener dog videos. If I'm buying a gun or I'm building a gun, ton of gun videos. But like consistently, it's podcasts and chess videos.
Wow.
But this has nothing to do with chess. It does have something to do with podcasts. I was diving into the JRE podcast with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I didn't really know who this guy was. Like, obviously, his dad's Bobby Kennedy. His dad's brother's JFK. Like, big political clout family. But I didn't know who the fuck he was. So I was listening to this thing, and I realized, like, dude, this has way less to do with, like, politics and presidential candidacy and anything like that. And he went super deep into vaccines. And he went all the way through it from, like, how they're put together, how the actual clinical studies are, how they're skewing the numbers, what it does for kids, what it does for humans, big pharma, nutrition, this and, like, this whole crock of shit came up. So naturally, like, every 30 minutes, I would stop the podcast, go into a loophole, stop the podcast, wormhole, over and over again. And I was on Twitter looking through some of RFK's posts, and I saw that he and Joe Rogan and this, I don't even know what you call them, like a doctor that makes the injections, the vaccines. Mm-hmm. He's vaccine man. Anyways, his name
Vaccinator.
Yeah. The vaccinator. The vaccinator, Peter Hotez, started getting into a beef with Joe Rogan and with RFK Jr. And essentially the premise was, like, one side was like, hey, you're full of shit with what you're doing and everything that happened in 2020, yada, yada. And then his side was like, no, I'm saving lives, all of this jazz. So Joe Rogan said, you know what, dude, fuck it. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to offer $100,000 for you and for RFK Jr. to come here, no time limit, no gloves, and just talk it out, fight it out, see who wins at the end. Dude, then a laundry list of people came in and they're like, I'm going to give $100,000. Patrick Bet David put his name in the hat. Bill Ackman, if you guys know him from Pershing Square, the hedge fund guy, he puts in money. Within like 48 hours, you had $2 million pledged just so these two can go
So is this
royal
podcast
battle.
happening? Like, is this going to actually be a 2-way duel to the finish
No
here?
way.
Dude, I don't fucking know because I saw everybody going back and forth and beefing. And the guy that was the vaccine man, the vaccinator, seems to be very skeptical about going on. But then you have all of these people from the vaccine side saying the other side shit. You have the other side that's like anti-vaxxers saying the other side shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care about the premise of who was right or who was wrong. And I tried to look at the facts and see, like, what the fuck was happening. Yeah. What I came to the conclusion of is that nobody knows what's going on. And the only person that's winning, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, is Big Pharma.
They're the only ones that are winning, and the people that are losing are everyone else. And the reason why is because there's no true clarity as to what's happening. Like, any type of debate that happens when it comes to whether you're pro, anti, whatever it may be, doesn't matter. I don't have any opinion towards whether you're a pro or anti. What matters is there's no real source of just
Truth.
understanding both perspectives, right? And having a conversation rather than necessarily needing to get a heated debate. Like, I just want to be able to actually understand someone's perspective honestly and just kind of get an idea of where do they get their information from, and this is why you may feel this way. This is why I may feel this way. I think the days of actually just having, true conversation about something, whether you feel, so passionate about one thing or another, like, it makes sense to have these discussions, but you have to do it in a way where you're going to be able to listen to someone speak, share their true feedback, not interrupt them. It may be entertaining to see that, but we're not getting anything as a result of it. And I think that's one of the big problems with these social issues.
Why do you think debate is dead? Like, you see everybody arguing all the time. It's just a bunch of meh from both sides. But the guy got $2 million. It goes to a charity of his choice. It should be something that's a no-brainer. Like, why the fuck don't people have these candid conversations anymore?
Two things here. So first things first, you know that Peter Hotez, actually, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. He
the vaccinator.
Vaxman, aka the vaccinator. He got interviewed by Joe Rogan 4 years ago.
I saw that. I saw snippets of it too.
Yeah.
I didn't really look into it.
Okay,
though.
so they interviewed 4 years ago, and the premise of this conversation was like, and I don't have an opinion on vaccinations or anything like that, but I guess the conversation was like Peter Hotez saying like vaccinations don't cause autism. I think he actually wrote a book called like Vaccinations Don't Cause Autism. I think it's one of his children have autism, which is a really like,
oh no shit.
It's just like a funky thing. But regardless, the entire premise of that conversation, where like Joe Rogan usually isn't like a pusher on specific topics, he just kind of asks questions and has dialogue. The dude, he's like, Peter, like, do you work out? Like, do you exercise? And he's like, no, like, I don't. And he's like, what's your advice, man? And he's like, yeah, like, I kind of eat like shit. Like, I eat a bunch of junk food all day. And Joe's like, so you're telling us every single person needs to be vaccinated, but you don't like exercise and you eat like a fucking wombat? Like, is that really what's going on here?
The math's not math.
And he was like, yeah, like that's how you, it's like, it's kind of like having a fat personal trainer. Like, why are you taking health advice from like this goon over here? It's like, that's your source of knowledge. It's just kind of like an interesting factor to play with. It's like that guy just got it a little bit twisted. But going back to your question you asked originally, it's like, why is debate dead? And the big reasoning for like apparently the back and forth of like why this debate should happen or why it shouldn't happen, I see it from both angles. So I see it from the angle of like, dude, like if you have a point, step up, have the conversation about it. And obviously $2.5 million put up for someone to be able to debate and have this conversation. And Joe's going to mediate the conversation with
and really
RFK.
fight for what you believe in. Like, that's his moment to step with all of his supporters behind his back and all of the clinical research. Do that shit.
The scientists community apparently is pretty against it in general. And the reason for it in their angle, not my angle, but their angle is like, on a podcast, it's like, or a debate setting, it's like, it's audio jujitsu in a way. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a little bit combat. And the person, like, the more like charismatic, communication enabled person is going to flourish in there. Whereas the other guy is going to just get verbally choked out. And the idea from the scientist community is like, science is all about, taking your time, diligent responses. They might not necessarily be like clear, like beautiful to listen to or hear, but it's supposed to be like factual to a specific question asked. And I guess the way they wanted this was like, here, provide us with specific questions. I'll provide you with specific data on your specific questions over here. And like, yeah, that to me makes a lot of sense. And I understand why this guy doesn't want to get bodied by Joe Rogan or a Kennedy, who's obviously like a politician, a public
talks
speaker,
for a living,
and talks for a living about these topics.
Well, do you think Joe Rogan in that debate would actually body this guy, or is he just going to be the mediator that just asks the questions that other people are thinking
I think it's just a matter of like charisma when it comes down to it.
I agree with that. And to your point, yeah, I think he would do a good job mediating, but it's hard to mediate on your own platform without expressing some type of bias. Like, regardless of how much you say, I'm going to be unbiased, I'm going to be right in the middle.
Sure.
If you're leaning even 0.5% one way or the other, like, it's going to show.
Yeah. And a scientific guy is going to have his own like direct communication style, which is not built for a medium like this. What I do think should happen is like someone like debate with your question answer format. Like, let's ask some specific questions. What's the efficacy of these vaccines? What kind of trials do they go through? Like, whatever RFK pointed at as like the downfalls of the vaccinations, like, let's hear your comments on a 1-by-1 basis on every single one and provide data based off every single one, because that's a scientific approach of how you'd want to handle it. And then from there, let's let the picking begin to have that conversation. But I think ultimately on the vaccine side, it's all a black box. No one really knows what the fuck is going on with it. You know what I mean? And you don't know if it's causation or correlation. And that's really the, you know, the kooky Karen anti-vaxxer attitude versus like the, you know, I'm going to jab myself and get my 9th booster shot. You know what I mean? It's like no one knows what the hell to do or what to listen to.
I think what's freaky is because people don't know if they see anything good or anything adverse, like you triple down on that side of it, and it's just a fight of non-absolutes.
And next thing you know, the world's flat and you're wearing like arched shoes to stand on the world so you don't fall off it.
It'd be interesting to see. I would really like to see it. I think the world deserves, and it doesn't have to be from them, but like an explanation for all of the hoopla over the past 3 years, and give people some peace of mind. But there hasn't really been any type of dialogue. It's always been like, here's what you're going to do, or this is what it is. And I think that pushback and that just take this for what it is what people don't fuck with.
I agree. And I think it's also just like, it's stupid how it's like a taboo topic to like question it as well. It's one of those things where like, if you during COVID or whatever happens, you question a vaccination or something along the lines of that, everyone thinks you're fucking out of your mind. And then like the other side of the sphere is also relatively true. If you deny it, it's like, what the fuck is going on? And I think that like people just need to be able to have these educated conversations and present data and allow everyone to make their own decision.
Yeah, people shouldn't be judged for making one decision or another. It's their bodies. They should be able to do what they want. And I think to everyone's point here, just clarity on what, you know, people think in one direction, what people think in another direction, and having the facts presented in a way where people can form their own opinion and they're not going to be judged for forming that opinion. I think that is what's missing with a lot of these traditional media outlets that, you know, are communicating one way, people are perceiving it another way, and then there's just a continuous kind of, you know, butting heads between the polar opposites.
I think people are getting so sick of this that it's like Elon made the first jump. By the way, Elon was like balls deep in this conversation too with everybody. He was right in the mix. But him buying Twitter, I don't think that he bought it from a sense of like, let's be fiscally responsible, let's revamp a business. I think he bought it specifically for free speech, yeah, for things like this to happen. Then you have the Rumbles of the world and whatever other free speech platforms there are. The problem is, though, now you look at things in the lens of like, here's Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat here on the left side, and then you have like Rumble and Twitter and whatever here on the conservative side. And it's like, even with people trying to rally for free speech and trying to get to the source of the truth, they still find a way to make it oil and vinegar. But I digress. Speaking of Twitter, though, changing topics. Michael Jordan, the Don, the Big G, the real top G, the original top G, bought the Charlotte Hornets, or majority stake of it, for $275 million in 2010. And he's about to sell his share of the pie for $2.77 billion.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is a legend, right? He did it in the sports world. He created, you know, his brand with the Jordan brand. You know, he was able to affiliate himself with Nike early on in his career and was able to really stand out as the, you know, premier basketball player throughout NBA history. He's what everyone considers as the GOAT. I consider him as a GOAT for a number of reasons, but him being able to come in and transcend into the business world within the sport that he's been so passionate about, you know, it doesn't surprise me that he's been able to find that opportunity. He had a ton of money by the end of his career. He had a ton of money through his shoe deals, and being able to put that into a vehicle like owning a sports franchise is really, really, you know, it's very aligned to what he's been able to do, you know, throughout his career up to this point. From what I understood, he didn't sell his entire share. I think he's still maintaining a very small portion of his equity so that he's still going to be part of the franchise.
Some skin in the game.
But, he definitely had a big come up there. He made a couple $2 billion off of this deal. And, what are the lessons learned from, an athlete being able to, take it to the next step in the business world? We've seen it on a number of other, occasions. Shaquille O'Neal has been huge with that. LeBron James has a huge, kind of brand. He has people that are helping him build a brand. There's a lot of people that have been able to take that. Tom Brady is now starting to, he acquired a minority share of the Las Vegas Raiders franchise. So there's people that are doing it. What does it mean for, sports athletes as they get into later parts of their career? And, what does this mean in general? I'm curious what you guys think.
Dude, this thing, I can't wrap my head around. I want your insight on this, Ashkan. And you know more about basketball than I do, but
Sure.
the Hornets haven't really done shit.
That's what I'm wondering.
Right? It's how did it get there?
So he 10x like your boy Grant Cardone over here, 275 million to 2.7 million. Did he add value? I'm not a Hornets guy. Did he add $2.3 billion worth of value to the Hornets? Did their record get better over this year period?
I don't even know if they've made the playoffs.
Did they sell more jerseys? What was was this appreciation of? Was this the right buy? Is one thing I'm wondering about. Did he just happen to buy in at a depreciated value?
Something super distressed.
Yeah, a distressed period, and now the asset of a basketball team in general just became
that's
worth
what it is.
Ton of more money. So this could be Muggsy Bogues or Allen Iverson could have bought the share and it would appreciate it. Or is this a Michael Jordan Jordan move? His brand fame caused Jordan shoes to go up. I don't think it's one of those cases here.
Two things here that I want to consider. I don't know if you guys remember the Clippers being sold to Steve Ballmer. They had the guy Donald Sterling, some weirdo racist. I don't want to get into all that jazz, but the point being is he was forced to sell the team, and Steve Ballmer bought it for an unprecedented number at the time. It was and don't quote me on this, but $2-3 billion, somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where it's there's only 32 teams. One of them just sold for $3 billion. Naturally, everybody else is going to get a big juice of what their valuation is. That could be one thing. The second thing, and this is the intangible, does it matter what Michael Jordan did at all? Or is it just the fact that it's Michael fucking Jordan that bought it and wants to sell it that he could sell for that high?
I think the NBA itself has gotten significantly bigger over the last, how long was it since you owned the team?
2010.
2010, so that's
around
been
the same time
years.
that he bought it, yeah.
So the NBA has gotten bigger. All teams, the value of every team has gone up considerably. He bought a team in a small market, right? So he was able to get it at a very, low value compared to a lot of the other teams that existed in the NBA. So as a result of the NBA growing, there's going to be a natural appreciation. If you look at real estate, right? If you buy, the crappiest house on the block, if that block eventually gets nicer and nicer over time, the value of that house, even if it's crappy, goes up as well.
Because the block is hot.
I think you see that happen with NBA. Another thing is, owning a basketball team is a finite resource. There's only 32 teams that you can purchase, right? So if a billionaire wants to come in and buy a team, they need to, bid on one of the teams that are available for purchase. So I think the fact that it is such a finite resource, there's only a certain amount of teams that you can even buy. I think as a result of all those things, that it's going to drive up the price.
But do you think anybody in their right fucking mind would buy it for $3 billion just to do it? In the sense of, you look at the team, they're not doing that great. They're not really hitting the playoffs. They don't really have any all-star players. I was just looking at it earlier. They have one of the Ball brothers, but he's in his second year. Who the fuck is the star, and who are you paying? What asset are you paying $3 billion for?
I think it's all just fugazi. It's the asset class in general is just growing. They're banking on this asset of this boat over here just continuing to be worth more and more cash. I don't know if that's what's happening in other sports outside of basketball, or maybe it's just a buying frenzy in the sport of basketball itself. But the economical, the tailwind behind the NBA as a team has increased 10x regardless to Michael Jordan adding, I'm not going to say adding no value, but the team didn't get better. They probably didn't sell many more tickets. They probably didn't sell more jerseys. Where the fuck did the value come from? It's just it's just the ratio. It's the PE ratio. They're not trading at higher values at this point, and that's the name of the game. And who's to say that this asset is not going to continue to rise, just like other things like real estate, for instance.
That's so fascinating to me. I guess it is really just like real estate. Hope that the block is hot, have the shittiest house on the block.
That's the way to look at it.
That was a perfect fucking analogy. And just wait for it to grow.
So do you know what we do right now? We buy pickleball teams right now.
Dude, that's been happening too.
The assets, we're still in the early adopter phase. Check out Google Trends. I mean, we're absolutely peaking right now, but at the same time, it's like there's a massive opportunity for brands to like really crush it in this space. Like I've been going to the pickleball courts of Newport Beach over here, and it's lit. There's a bunch of like old ass dads that just whoop my ass at this game. I've been playing racquetball for like 20
for their whole
years.
Fucking life.
But at the same time, it's like, dude, these guys have a bunch of cash and they're willing to drop it on like, I don't even know what it is, like knee pads for themselves or like paddles or whatever it happens to be. And I'm seeing a lot of brands that are like blitzing this space when it comes to like paddles and apparel. And like, we have a couple clients that are actually in this pickleball space. But I think it's like, all right, what is the big opportunity that exists? And we were at an event in Venice last week, and it was like we invited a bunch of our clients and partners to an event. It's like a happy hour type of thing. And one of our clients called Sunday Swagger. They're a really cool brand, two really cool dudes that they manufacture like sublimated cool like golf apparel. They're competing with like the Bad Birdies of the world.
Yeah.
And I was talking to them about like, yo, you guys need to go all in on like pickleball and create like the category of pickleball apparel. And like it doesn't exist as of right now, but I think there's a massive opportunity for someone to like
create the category,
grab that by the horns, establish what pickleball apparel could potentially be, knowing that this potential asset class, this group of pickleball is an emerging market. And it's where is it going to be in 2-5 years? Is it going to bust? Is it going to just hit the floor and tank? Or is it going to be up there next to tennis?
I'm going to play devil's advocate. How many people watch tennis? Generalized.
I think a lot.
Yeah, a lot. That's what I was getting at. How many people watch ping pong?
None.
What's the fundamental difference?
People are watching it.
Why?
I think more people would watch. They would watch this sport over ping pong. They would watch pickleball over ping pong. It's more of an active sport. You're still moving around. You're not just in one little area. It's a more fun sport to watch. I don't think it's as fun as watching, let's say, a tennis, but it is a sport where people are going to enjoy because they actually can be an athlete in the sport and they can actually connect because they played it more frequently, and it's a sport that they are used to playing themselves. And I think as a result of playing something that, watching something that you're used to playing, you may be more connected to watching the sport as well. Right, I play a lot of basketball. I enjoy, going to the golfing, the driving range every once in a while and hit some balls. I'll go ahead once in a while and tune into, golf just because I wanted to see how someone else swings the golf club.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I connect in that type of way, and I think for a lot of people, if they are becoming more avid when it comes to pickleball, they're gonna watch pickleball. I've watched, there's a couple of pickleball like
how-to videos.
Yeah, like not even the how-to videos. There's a couple of pros that I've even followed on YouTube because I just want to see how they operate. Ben Johns, I think, is his name. Shout out to Ben Johns.
Here's what I can't wrap my head around. Fundamental difference for me, and mind you, I'm not really into sports. I love MMA, but like I can't see somebody hitting a ball. Tennis, great. I would prefer to play ping pong over tennis. I think that pickleball is more of a game that's enjoyed to be played than it's a game that's enjoyed to be watched. I think that's the same thing for golf too. I think the difference with golf is that it's been around a lot longer. This is just the infancy stage of pickleball. It could go to the fucking moon. I don't know.
Let me
the
ask
only
you
other
this.
thing it has sorry to cut you off. The only other thing it has going for itself is that old people can play and they can play freely. So if they resonate with a sport like that, I think it'll be really good off for them. But the question that I have for you two after you ask me mine, is the play to buy the teams in its infancy, or is the play to build a lifestyle around the game?
I think no matter what, there's a lot of tailwind and it's a growing industry. So if you can establish 1%, 5%, 10% of any of these assets, whether it's a small e-com brand that's selling paddles, or whether it's a league that you are establishing of goons that are trying to play. Like, there's an opportunity for you to go and buy a bunch of commercial real estate that is acting as like a Kmart that's out of business that you're getting for like sub $1 a square foot, and opening this up as like an indoor pickleball like club. There's just a lot of internal demand as of right now for these things. Like, I'm looking at Google Trends, and it's at its absolute peak right now. Pickleball shoes, like, is that the next one? It's like, when there's an industry that's growing, you can just grab it by like just pinch it and hold on for dear life, and you will inevitably grow with the industry.
Just ride the wave.
And I think that's the opportunity. On a team's level, like, realistically, I don't know if anyone's like, I don't know the viewership of it in comparison to the playership of it. I would probably, just me knowing e-com and understanding e-com, I would probably play in that game rather than play in the purchasing of teams or sponsoring of events type of game. But I think there's a massive opportunity to like identify the products that people want, identify the pickleball influencers, run some basic ads on there, create something really, really interesting. And I think it's a massive opportunity that's only growing.
So is this going to be the Michael Jordan Hornets sale in 10 years, if you had to bank on it?
My honest thoughts, probably not.
But
Probably
what
not.
is this?
But I think his thoughts on the e-commerce business, you probably could generate a mid 7-figure business a year off of the tailwinds of the trend here happening. What I was going to mention to you earlier, wasn't going to add any real value to the conversation. I was going to ask, have you watched the movie Dodgeball?
No.
You've never, have you, Ashton? You've seen Dodgeball, right?
It's like a super bad type of vibe.
So it's like when you dodge a wrench, you dodge a ball. You've never heard that line, and yeah, it's kind of like that.
Dude, I'm living under a fucking hole.
I don't know why you didn't watch that movie, but Ashkan, ESPN The Ocho. You tune in, right? You tune in to watch ESPN The Ocho. If you didn't watch the movie, you don't get.
Dude, I'm trying to put who played in fucking Dodgeball.
Oh my goodness, man!
Is like a Will Ferrell thing?
What's the guy from Wedding Crashers?
The guy from Wedding Crashers. I didn't watch Wedding Crashers either.
Dude, Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn.
Oh,
the man.
Ben Stiller.
Dude, I need to stop watching chess videos.
Great movie. You gotta you stop watching the chess videos. Watch a little Dodgeball. Get your life straight,
Magnus
man.
just puts you to sleep every night, huh? Magnus, what's his last name?
It's Magnus Carlson.
Carlson.
I want you to treat him with. By the way, fun fact: Gotham Chess. It's the biggest chess channel. It is on trend to be the highest growing YouTube channel of this year. He was at like 1.8 million followers like 2 months ago. He's at 4 now. He's on track to hit 10.
Why are so many people?
Bullish? Is chess the next Hornets, or is pickleball the next? Hornets?
Dude, chess.
Why?
All day long. I'll tell you why. You don't need to get up and go anywhere to play chess. You could play online with however many people that you can, and you have access through chess.com, which I'm a proud platinum member of.
Look at that.
You go in, you play with people all around the world. You get to enjoy it. It's one of the world's oldest games. Whether you're good at it or not in the tactical skill level, similar to pickleball, a lot of older folk play. This is a game where a lot of older folk can play. It's much more accessible. It costs less to buy a chessboard than it costs to buy half of a paddle, and you don't need to break a sweat. You get to sit there and dominate game after game after game after game after game. If you look at like a Fortnite, it'll come and go, right? There will be a huge uproar. Not uproar, but like uprising, and then it'll shit the bed.
So what's the opportunity?
I think chess is here forever.
What's the opportunity to like take advantage of this chess blitz?
Dude, I think that the real opportunity is if you could be any schmuck with a camera and start making content around chess, more so than like, hey, let me sell this really nice board, or let me sell you this course on how to do these different openings or middle games or end games. This is one of those avenues where if you could create nice, entertaining content for it, you're going to win. And you're seeing it in front of your eyes. There's one dude, Gotham Chess, that's crushing it. Everybody else is following into his basket. But just like you said, if you could take 1%, 5%, 10%, I think you can make a very lucrative endeavor for yourself.
I got nothing else to say about chess, but shout out to Gotham Chess.
Dodgeball.
Ashton, you had another topic as well on your agenda. Let's switch kind of gears here. You wrote Die with Zero book, Bill Perkins. What is that all about?
Do you know who Bill Perkins is?
Yes, I do. I did watch a little bit of the video, but I don't just talk to me a little bit what you want to discuss here.
Billy P here is an absolute
Wet Bill.
Wet Billy is an absolute legend. So this guy he's in his 40s. He worked on Wall Street for a while. I think he was trading commodities or something along the lines of that. So he was living the standard like 90-hour work week, work your ass off type of life.
Okay.
And he changed it up. And long story short, after years and years, he wrote a book called Die with Zero book, which is a very controversial topic. The idea is like you want to die with no money, and that kind of pisses people off. And it's like, all right, what about your kids? What about your family? Like, what the fuck? What about them?
Pissing people off with no money to begin with? What a shame.
Yeah. So, but like when you break it down, he has some really awesome points that people don't talk enough about. So the idea with Die with Zero is to identify and to think methodically about how much money you actually need throughout your life and what period of your life you actually need this money at.
Yep.
So that way you can construct your life in that way. And some basic opportunities and ideas to think about is like, one, you know, people usually die and they're like, all right, I'm going to allow my kids to inherit this money. But like, dude, your kids don't like want your money when they're 69 years old. Like that's not the best time for them to like inherit your cash. Like their best time to be able to have some money is like when they need it. Like maybe it's like when they're like 20 years old and like want to start a business or like buy their first home when they're 33 and just got married or whatever it happens to be. And his idea is about baking some of those things in the equation. He also talks a lot about a couple of interesting topics. One being the idea of that I like is like there are some things in life that you have a defined window for where you need to complete. Like, you will not be able to complete this thing outside of this window. For example,
has an expiration date.
There's an expiration date. So like having kids, like if you're a woman, you can't have kids when you're 50 years old. So like that's a clear example of like the expiration date. But also like another example is like you want to go heli skiing. Like you're probably better off doing that in like your 30s, your 40s than like when you're 80 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like that idea of the expiration date that's there. And he also talks a lot about, you know, obviously you could take your money that you have and invest it for retirement, and you're going to have that compound interest of your 8% or whatever it happens to be annually, which is excellent.
Which I'm a big fan of.
But yeah, which is great. We talked about it in our last episode, but he also talks something about like the memory dividends, where, you know, let's say that you go on that ski trip and like you had a great time, but it's not just that great time that you had. Every time you recall that memory that you have, there's a small amount of like dividends of like reward that's paid to you every time that you relive that moment there.
The nostalgia you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that's a very, very real. Yeah, and it's a very, very real thing. So if you do it earlier, you will be able to theoretically rethink about that and pay yourself that memory dividends more and more and more times. So the idea is it better to go on, you know, one backpacking trip to Thailand when you're like 28 years old? Or should you just invest that, you know, you don't have that cash, like let's put those $5,000 in a retirement account and it'll be like $50,000 when you're 65 years old. Like which one's actually better? Like, dude, all day, the backpacking trip, the experience, all that, you'll never be able to do that again in your entire life. And then that memory dividends will compound over and over again as well.
Something I think about a lot, because I listened to his audiobook right when his book came out. By the way, fun fact, he's like Bilzerian's right-hand man, absolute poker degenerate and legend. Love the guy for many, many reasons. They talk about the setup of their life a lot. And I'm like, what the fuck does that really mean, the setup? Like where you live, how close it is to your work, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so much deeper than that. It's like if you can construct how you live, your proximity to things, the relationship between this thing in your life and that thing in your life. And it could be as simple as like, I'm going to lay out my clothes the next day because I want to wake up, put them on, head out the door. Very small example. But they're very big into architecting the way in which their life is formed so that it can pay dividends and they can do the things that they want to do. So now that you've listened to the podcast and read the book and you're thinking about it, like looking holistically at what the fuck your life looks like right now, how do you think it's orchestrated? How do you think it's put together? And what do you think could be better about it? For the both of you, you go first.
Yeah, no, honestly, I did have a chance to watch a little bit of his podcast and like his thoughts on this. And my overall thoughts are, I'm not in one polar opposite perspective. What it did open to my mind is I want to be able to live more in the moment. I want to be able to take advantage of things during times of my life, which, you know, are really important, that I want to be able to live life to the fullest. So, you know, everyone knows, we'll talk about it a little bit later on the podcast, I'm getting married at the end of this week. I'm super excited for that. But actually, as a result of this podcast, I thought to myself, all right, I'm going to go to Greece. I'm going to go to Croatia. I'm going to have the time of my life. And I probably could do that again. But what is one place that I could go to that I probably won't do again, or I probably won't do it this time in my life again? And as a result of that, I'm going to take 2 days, and I'm actually going to go to Ibiza.
No shit.
I'm going to go to Ibiza.
Ibiza.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Ibiza for 2 days, and just because I can, right? Just because I want to be able to say to myself,
fuck yeah,
I've had a chance to do that. And I think that was one of the takeaways from this is, like, if you have that inkling, if you have, you know, the means, take advantage of it. And for me, that kind of opened my eyes that I need to take more advantage of the opportunities that I want to take advantage of. And this was a really good eye-opening for me. So those are one of the, you know, quick takeaways that I'm going to be able to implement. Doesn't really add value in terms of my, you know, net worth. It doesn't add value in terms of, you know, my goals, but it does allow me to have a perspective of wanting to do things in the moment, being able to enjoy life to the fullest. And I think that's a big win for me that I was able to uncover.
More full sends.
Yeah.
You just gotta do cool shit.
Look at your life structure right now, 1 through 10. What would you rate it before you listen to it, and what would you rate it after, now that you have more context as to what he's talking about? Like, your perception of what it was before and after you listen to the way that he breaks up his setup and the way that he goes through his life.
I would say that it's pretty high still. Like, I think I've kind of like lived and attempted to do all of those things, and I've never like steered away from trying to do the things that I want to do. So I would say that it's still, it is pretty high, but I think there are some opportunities and an ability to question some of the things I'm doing, to zoom in and seeing if there are opportunities that I might potentially be missing out on that I don't ever want to actually
like
miss
what
out on.
Which are what? Yeah.
All right, I'll give you an example of it. So, like, I have a kid. I have a daughter. She's 6 months old right now. Like, one of my biggest fears is, like, there's going to be a time where, like, there are some things that I can do with her right now that I will never be able, like, but when she's like 5 years old, I will never be able, like, there is a 0% chance of me being able to do that thing again.
Yeah.
Like, it could be anything. It could be like taking her to swim classes.
I was just about to say
it's like,
that.
if I miss that opportunity, that opportunity has a 0% chance of actually coming back, no matter how much money or resources or whatever it is.
Watching her crawl, saying her first word.
Yeah, it's like you have 0 chance. It's like, what are those things? So, like, I talked to Dan about it. I was like, what are the things that, like, in the next 3 years? I don't think you can look at it in like the next 20 years, but like in the next 3 years, like, what are the things that, like, we will not be able to do with Ava ever again? And, like, we need to make sure we do all those things now. And, like, we tried to come to conclusions with it. And, like, there were some things where it's like, all right, swim classes, being there with her, spending as much time with her, which are like the basic, like, core things that, like, everyone knows. But, like, what are some of the more deep ones? And, like, I haven't gone on, like, a trip with her for, like, her first ever trip. I think that's, like, one to be able to, like, pay attention to and have those memories. Like, she has no memory bank right now. Like, she will not remember me taking her on a trip.
It's for you to remember and take pictures
of. For you.
It's in my memory bank. You know what I mean? And in 10 years, 20 years, when she goes to college, like, am I going to be happy that I went on that trip?
Fuck yeah.
Or that or I didn't go and I, you know, stayed at work an extra 7 days. Like, dude, of course I'm going to fucking want to go on that trip. You know what I mean? So thinking through those elements and just second guessing some of those things that are going on, I think are super pivotal to make sure you're not missing out on all of those opportunities. What about yours? Like, what are the things that if you look at, like, fuck, I need to make this adjustment. I need to do this thing right now.
Travel more. Definitely travel more.
Yeah.
I always say that I want to travel, and I just end up going to, like, Mexico for 7 days once a year. And what ends up happening there, mind you, I have the worst luck when I go to Mexico. Last time we went to Mexico, we went for his wedding and my birthday. The second day that I was there, got an ear infection. Rocked my world. Eardrum was actually, like, busted up. Couldn't do shit, couldn't enjoy myself. Haven't gone on a vacation since. Wanted to go to Austin, Texas. Sporadically bought tickets, like, surprised my girlfriend with him, like, we're going to go. That Friday, or the Thursday to the Friday that we were leaving, like, thunderstorms everywhere. Didn't go. And I've just been sitting here with
You were going to go to Italy as well.
Dude, listen to this. So, did I tell you why we're not going to Italy?
No.
So, dude, this is so fucked. Okay. So, my girlfriend has always wanted a Cartier bracelet. So, I was like, hey, like, I'm going to get us tickets to Italy. We're going to go in the summer. Great. So, she goes, I want a Cartier bracelet. I said, okay, babe, you can make one of two decisions.
Oh, man.
I said, you could get the Cartier bracelet this year, or you can go to Italy. And she had a Cartier bracelet.
She made the wrong
That
choice.
was, I mean,
And I got it.
Let me actually add a perspective here. Not only did she make the wrong choice in each of our opinions,
She's going
but
to watch
now
this and be so butthurt.
this also affects you, right? Because that doesn't, other than making, you know, her happy in that moment, that's the gratification that you would receive by giving her that Cartier bracelet. That's very short-lived. But your ability to experience a new culture will transcend, in my opinion,
100%.
any specific, actual tangible item that you would ever receive. 1,000,000 out of 1,000,000 times, I would choose the experience,
Dude.
the travel, over any, product or anything, watch or bracelet, whatever it may be.
100%.
1,000,000 times over.
But what the fuck am I going to do? I'm not going to be like, no, like, you can't
Go
take this
solo.
to go to No.
No,
Dude, one of my favorite. One of my
Ashton,
favorite.
do you want me to die?
die,
If you want me to fucking die, say that again and look in the camera.
Do not go solo. Listen, Azita, if you're watching this, he is not going solo.
That's how you get killed, buddy.
Die. One of my favorite experiences ever was going to Thailand. And it's one of those things where it's like, dude, like that's a window where I would not have the same time that
Agreed.
I had in Thailand if I went now
Today
with the
versus
kid, with the family, all of that shit. It's like you have a defined window when you're okay with like sleeping
Just
on
being
a
a rat.
fucking bus, like just
Ava's not going to
dirty
go
as-
in there. Yeah.
dirty as hell, like sucking laughing gas on like the streets of the Kosan Road in Bangkok. It's like
Ripping dirts, you don't know where they
Yeah,
came from,
it's
eating
like-
crickets. It's just the best.
yeah, like a ping pong ball flew out of where. Like who knows what actually? Who knows? But it's like you can only do that for that finite amount of time. So going back to the question you asked about this book, Down Zero, it's like, dude, like I couldn't go on that. So this is that finite time. It's like when that window closes, that window closes. In 30 years from now, even right now, I would pay 20 times what I paid for that trip to go on that
back
trip
and do it
again,
again.
and to like, go
50
back and do
times.
it again.
Did you go to or did you
Oh,
and I
I
get
love
stuck?
that. Was one of the best trips we've ever been to
that's
as
right.
well.
You and
yeah.
Zam. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
we had an awesome time there, and I agree. You cannot pay enough money to relive that experience. Like, whenever you are you come to that crossroads. Should I go on the trip or should I not? From experience, 100 times out of 100 times, if you have the financial means, do it. If you don't have the financial means,
Do it
save
anyways.
up.
No. Do it anyways.
You should save up a little bit, have a plan saying, hey, listen, in the next 12 months, I want to get to this goal, right? I need to, save up $4,000 for the trip, whatever it may be. Save it up, make a plan with whoever you're going to go with to save the money and make it happen. Put it on paper, buy the ticket first so you're committed as well. So you can't escape you
Manifestation.
can't
Triple down the
scapegoat
memory
yourself out.
dividends.
I see a ton of fucking wacko dudes like the top G dick nut riders. You know who I'm talking about? Like the classic 23-year-old guy. I own a cold email agency. I'm making 20 grand a month.
We love them.
I don't know how real or fake the money that they make is, whatever. That doesn't matter. Here's what I'm finding more merit in. I think that we can all agree, like, we live way below our means. We don't really spoil ourselves. But you see these guys, young boys, like 21 to 23 years old. They got M3s, they got M5s, they're leasing Lambos, they're living in a penthouse that they could barely fucking afford. But there's merit to what they're doing. They're experiencing something that sure they could do when they're later, 40, 50, whatever, but they're young, they're single, they're hungry, they're making money fast, they're blowing it even faster. Do you think that what they're doing fits in line with what Billy P is talking about, or do you think that that's just fucking stupid?
I think it depends on how much value you're going to pull out of it. Like if it is going to be something that pays you in that memory dividends over and over and over again, you're going to come back and you're this car person, you have this dream of always having a Lambo, whatever it happens to be. And, 30 years from now, you're always going to think about that time. Sure, could potentially be worth it. But if it's not, and it's like the reality of just any new car, like, dude, you get a new car, you're gonna be fucking sick of it in like a couple of days. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing. It's not gonna like hold that merit of like extreme like love. At least nothing ever has for me that way. You always kind of get old of it. You're just stuck with a massive bill that you can't pay, and if it's especially if it's gonna put you in a place of struggle, definitely not worth it.
I think it's a spectrum, to be honest. I think there's a spectrum of being able to, you know, enjoy the things that you want to enjoy in life, but also make sure you're doing it responsibly. And I wouldn't say you want to tier completely one direction or another. You may lean more into just doing the things that you want, and I think that's probably the better kind of side of the spectrum to be on. But, you know, you kind of have to have a little bit of a thought process behind what you're doing. If you're going to go ahead, if you're going to buy that Lambo, if you're going to go ahead and go on those trips, what are you going to do as a result of being able to enjoy that experience? How do you make sure that that reward is being compensated through an action in your life to better yourself? And I think that's the way I think of things in that regard.
Can you quantify the thrill of actually making one of those purchases or getting that oof feeling in your stomach when you're about to buy something? I'll give you an example. Arman and I, like a year ago, had a conversation like 8 p.m. at the office. And I was like, dude, you need to fucking buy yourself something that you would normally never buy. Yeah. Something that's probably going to piss you off when you ring your credit card. And you just got to do it. And we were going back and forth on this forever. And he's like, I don't know. Next week, he came through with his Rolex.
Got the Rolex.
Shine him. Other way.
Boom.
There you go. You got a beautiful two-tone Submariner. At that moment, how did you feel? I mean, I'm talking like literally the moment of not walking in there, not putting it on, swiping the fucking credit card. How did that feel?
I mean, it was the
oof.
Yeah, you feel it. Listen, I have the means to do it, but it doesn't matter. Anytime you're spending, you know, a ton of money on yourself on something that you know it's not going to, in that case, add value to you, you're going to feel it. For me, I rationale the decision behind doing it, saying that, hey, I've had these successes in my life, and I want something to be a daily reminder of you got to keep going. You got to keep being able to hustle. You got to be able to do the things that has got you to this place. And, you know, being able to look at that, it shows the time is now. It's time is now to actually be able to make things happen in your life. And that was a reminder of why I did it in the first place. So whether it's the Lambo, whether it's, you know, being able to go on that amazing vacation, my thoughts are enjoy the fruits of your labor. But I think it's always important to understand you got to this point for a reason. You were able to achieve the things that you were able to achieve for a reason. When you do celebrate those wins, enjoy the moment, but understand you'll get the opportunity to be able to relive more of these moments in the future, but attach that gratification to a goal. Attach that gratification to the things that you want to accomplish. And I think being able to have that healthy conversation with yourself on, hey, I want to make these things happen with my life. As a result of hitting these milestones, I'm going to go on these trips. I'm going to go heli skiing. I'm going to do the things that I want to do to enjoy my life in the moment and really enjoy the process as well.
I love how sentimental you made that. That really is a beautiful thing. When you look at it, it's not a watch. It's just like you said, time bank memories of what you did to get there.
Exactly.
Speaking of gifts, there's one gift that you have that is priceless. It's your little baby. And something very special happened this past Sunday that you've never experienced. So to end the Bill saga, we should be talking about how it felt to have your very first Father's Day, what gift you got, more importantly, because that's all Father's Day is for. Baby's there. Baby's going to piss and shit and live without you. But the gift you get once. So talk about the gift and talk about the opportunities around the gift that we were talking about earlier.
So I'm going to save the big one for another episode. I want to talk a lot more about e-commerce on like another conversation. I got 2 gifts for Father's Day. So first things first, Father's Day was lit. Got a chance to hang out with my baby all day, spend time with her. She's the shit. Ava Dune in the building. Got a chance to hang out with her, went out to breakfast, had some coffee, went on a walk, got a sick like backpack tent, like a safari tent. I'm just like a hillbilly. There ain't no like there's a Whoop band on this wrist over here and that's about it. Like I don't have a Rolex, I don't wear a watch, barely wear a ring at this point. Hate wearing a ring, but
that's
like,
gonna come back to haunt you.
I'm a very simple guy, but like I got this sick backpack to put my baby in. She can kind of go on trips and just add to like that like merit of like the travel and the trip and the experience. It's how to have as many memories as possible. Like, I'm going to take this fucking backpack and she's going to climb a waterfall in this shit. And she'll never be able to do that shit again. But I got the backpack and she'll be able to fit up there and hang out up top in the top of the Joey and just ride. And that's what it's all about. I got another gift, which we'll talk about in the next episode, which is a really, really cool e-commerce brand. And I think it's like a massive trend that's happening where there's an opportunity to go above and beyond and really change the game that e-com works. And, you know, I think it's an easy hack to be able to increase conversion rate on site, be able to have increased perceived value super, super heavily. And you can build this around different holidays or build this around different life events that people are going through to make for a very, very successful customer acquisition strategy and overall business strategy as well.
And that gift specifically, that's something that you're going to be able to see on a daily basis. You'll be able to treasure that gift for the rest of your life. And, you know, he'll talk more about that specific gift on a future episode because it does have a lot to do with e-commerce and the opportunities that
you guys are dangling a carrot in front of me. I still don't know what this gift is. Somebody's got to tell me what the gift is.
It was a... Go ahead. Say it. Just tell them the book. You'll go into more detail afterwards.
All right. It was a custom book from a company called Hooray Heroes. So what it is, a custom
Hooray,
book,
like hooray?
Hooray, yeah, like Hooray Heroes.
Oh,
and
nice.
What they do is you build pretty much like an avatar of like who the baby is and who the dad is. And then what you can do is it helps write
like a Sims type of vibe avatar?
Like simple, like very, very simple. You can change the eye color, the hair color, all this stuff. And it constructs like a very beautiful, beautiful book. And it writes like 10 well, it's not right, but it like fills in the book like beautiful illustrations with that same kid and with the same guy in it as the dad, and writes stories about like bedtime stories about the baby and how it's your first kid and how it's like all these
amazing
things. And the illustrations are super, super beautiful. All the pages have your name on it, her face on it, which is generated based on her avatar, but like super, super thoughtful gift.
Did you cry?
Yeah.
Oh.
Of course.
That was a very thoughtful gift. Very, very thoughtful gift. I'm looking at it. Check out the website. You know, whoever is listening in the pod here, hoorayheroes.com.
And I'll dive into a little bit of the opportunity here. We'll break this down in way more detail. But the idea of custom goods, custom gifting, or custom e-commerce in general is a massive hack to increase the perceived value of product. Like, this shit's it's the same as a 12-page book. You know, they got to print it one of one, but it's not like a magnificently like higher cost due to the fact that it's custom here. There's like 20 options when it comes to like how to customize a guy's face or how to customize a baby, eye color, hair color, different things like that. And the stories, you can select like 10 of 30 stories to go throw in there, and they just print them out on a custom by custom basis. But by doing this, that book is now mine. There's so much perceived value.
It pulls on your heartstrings.
That can be built out around it. And I think there's a massive opportunity for, you know, this same thing can be done for Mother's Day. It can be done for Christmas. It can be done for Hanukkah. It can be done for, you know, New Year's. It can be done when any baby is born in general. It's like there is such a massive opportunity. And maybe in the next episode, we can break this down and then also talk about what we would do to make this better, as well as what other opportunities exist on a customized level, all built around holidays where purchase intent skyrockets, conversion rates skyrocket during that time frame. Everyone knows these flower companies and how they sell a shitload during like Valentine's Day, or these firework companies that you see up for 3 days and then they're gone. We're going to talk about those opportunities there and how brands are making a killing by capitalizing on some of these major holidays.
Awesome. Guys, anything else before we end the pod here?
Do I have any final thoughts? I don't think so. I think we ended on a good note.
You got to see the book, man. The book's fire.
I can't wait to see the book. Bring it in. No, you got to bring it in so we could see what the fuck's going on, and then we could go into the rally of what it is that we can make of this.
Can't take it away from Ava. I'm sorry.
Maybe next time.
Understood.
But guys, we appreciate you being able to be part of this conversation with us. You just listened to your Fifth Friend podcast, where you are the average of the five people of the. You messed me up there. Redo. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. We're here to be your fifth friend. We appreciate you guys listening to us. following us on this journey. This entire podcast that we're going to be able to do, we're going to publicize this journey in terms of our ability to take it to the next level, to become a household name. We're a committed part of this opportunity. We appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
One little note to that before we head off. We're going to have some guests soon, which is going to be great.
Yes.
Ton of e-commerce killers. I think it'll be really nice to have the conversation that Ashkan wants to bring up the next week. Then we get on a couple guests. It's all going to flow quite nicely. That's all I got. We're out.